let's start by discussing the ongoing border closures. Are you satisfied with how Queensland and Victoria have handled the outbreaks in New South Wales?
Look, I've always been supportive of restrictions on travel when an outbreak occurs. I think they've been one of the proven techniques to control the virus. It's very unfortunate, obviously, for those that are impacted by border closures, but they do prevent a broader spread of the virus across the country. I do think, though, they need to be continually evaluated on a day-to-day basis. I think here in Queensland, one issue has been there's been too often an unwillingness to look at the borders between monthly reviews. The Queensland government has set up where they assess it on a month-by-month basis. I think that has to be much more. There's no reason why it can't be daily. We are seeing lower numbers in New South Wales. I think there were no locally acquired cases yesterday. So as soon as it's safe to do so, those borders should open up again, because it's important for our tourism industry, and especially important this time of year for families to be able to see each other.
And in terms of that review process, should National Cabinet be reconvened to come up with a national approach on tackling borders?
Oh, look, I'm not sure that will lead to much outcomes. Obviously, we see pretty clearly the states are making the decisions in their own interests. They're not really cooperating on these sort of matters much. So I'm not sure getting in a room or on Zoom or whatever it is going to do much. Look, the National Cabinet has been useful in many ways, but on the border question, states have made their own decisions. And look, I support the rights of states to do that. We are one country, as our national anthem now says, but we are a federation of independent states, and as the High Court has ruled, the states do have the sovereign right, during a public health crisis, to limit restrictions on entry to their states. And as I say, I think that's actually proven a pretty effective measure. I mean, WA hasn't really had any coronavirus, and that probably wouldn't have been the case if their borders had remained open.
You mentioned tourism, and now we're seeing tourism bosses pleading with the Prime Minister to intervene on the borders approach. Has the federal government been too quiet on the issue?
Well, as I say, I support largely the current approach. As I said, there's little things around the edges like reviewing it more frequently, but it's an effective means. I mean, yes, there's impacts of the border closure, no doubt about it, but you've got to weigh that up against the bigger impact of an outbreak in your own state. And as we can see now in Sydney, things like the Sydney cricket match are being restricted in terms of numbers of people. There are increasing restrictions on gatherings of people. All those things come at a big cost. And so, unfortunately, there's no costless path here. There's no pathway where no one will bear a cost. And it's just about minimising that as much as possible. And I do think restrictions on travel have proven to work in that regard.
All right, let's move on now to a story that's emerged today. The nation's top energy advisor is warning that our electricity market needs urgent reform, coming off the back of a report that is raising concern about the security of East Coast power supplies. Is Australia falling behind in this area?
Well, Blind Freddie can see that we've destroyed our energy competitiveness as a nation. Our power prices have doubled, and now we have warnings that we may not even be able to keep the lights on. We're meant to be a developed country. Surely, in this country, we can not have to worry at night about whether the light is going to come on in the morning. I think there's way too much bureaucratese here, way too much weasel words. We need reform. Don't we just need reliable power? I don't think people need reform. We need reliable power. That is what we need. The problem is pretty clear. We've invested way too much in types of power which are unreliable, which are weather dependent, and therefore put at risk the security of the system. So what should we do? Let's invest in reliable forms of power that are there 24/7 a day. Unfortunately, renewable power is the dole bludgers of our power networks. They only turn up to work when they want to, when the sun shines or the wind blows. We actually need power that's full-time, turns up to work all the time, and that's in coal or gas or hydro or nuclear if we're ever to do that. Let's get back to investing in those types of power to secure our system before it's too late. And as I say, I think these weasel words about needing to reform and wanting to cut emissions and all this stuff, let's get back on focus of keeping the lights on. And that means reliable power. And things like coal need to be part of that.